Good morning, good morning, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. It's time for Mel Carr, Thank You Lord Productions, Thank You Lord Show. And as my special guest today, I have Mr. Joe Sears. Say hello to our visual crowd and our audio crowd.
Hello, Mel, and hello, audience. Nice to be with you this morning.
Joe, I'm so excited. I've got a page full of questions to ask you, and and I think you're going to enjoy some of the questions that I have. You can plead the fifth if you elect not to answer the questions or not. So tell me, Joe, what have you been doing lately?
I've been doing a lot of things. I've retired from my regular work 5 years ago, and just trying to stay involved with my family a little bit more. Well, actually, a lot more. I've got a couple of granddaughters that are the dearest things that I can imagine ever being blessed with, and getting a chance to spend time with them and spend time just kind of relaxing from that 30-some years of hard labor.
Well, Joe, tell me about your family and tell me about your new addition. You got 2 grandkids now, so tell me more about the family.
Well, yes, I guess first start with my wife. We've been married, Evelyn and I have been married now for 44 going on 45 years. And we have two daughters and 6 grandkids and 2 great granddaughters. So that's a pretty good start.
Well, there was an old man that lived in his shoe. He had so many children, he didn't know what to do. So the Lord is blessing you.
Yes,
the
he
Lord
is.
is
Yes,
blessing you
always.
every day. Joe, tell me, how did you get started in radio?
Well, it was kind of convoluted way. I guess my initial interest was people would always comment on my voice, saying that you have a nice voice for radio. I don't know if that's a joke or not, because they didn't say much about my face for TV, but they always talked about my voice, and I decided that perhaps I'd try to find something career-wise that I could do using my voice. Wow. So I was just kind of searching some things in general and found out about this thing called Radio Workshop. It was taught by a local DJ, Tom Knox, on WCIN radio, and he offered it free to anyone that was interested in getting started in the radio business. So I first got involved with radio through Tom Knox's workshop.
Well, tell me, in reference to your education and stuff, were you thinking educationally about getting into radio, TV before you met him?
No, actually, I wasn't. I went to in high school. I had a high school buddy that played football with that was already on the radio at the age of 17. Ooh. And I was impressed with him. He was his name. Well, we called him Jimmy Wonder. His name was James Alexander. I'm sorry. And I thought it was just cool to be involved in something like radio at a very young age. In high school, you're trying to find some way to be popular. And I played a little football, but I wasn't outstanding at it. And I just thought it was as a way of kind of getting over some of my shyness. Very shy guy. And I found radio to be a good way to kind of come out of my shell.
Wow. Were you raised in the Cincinnati area?
Born and raised Cincinnati, grew up in the West End before the highway came through there and gentrified the neighborhood, and if I could say that. And so I grew up in the West End, went to Sands Elementary School and Heberly Elementary School before going to high school at Walnut Hills.
Wow. Walnut Hills, that was the smart school, wasn't it?
Well, so they say. Somehow, some of us were able to slip through the cracks and get accepted. But it was a very interesting experience of clashing cultures from what I was used to being and seeing in family structure and things of that nature. But yeah, I wound up at Walnut Hills, and actually, it was kind of a strange situation because I didn't really want to go. All my friends would be out playing ball and basketball and things of that nature, and I would be at home studying.
Ooh.
Studying.
Brainiac.
That was what Walnut Hills was all about. So I didn't do very well in my initial year at Walnut Hills, to a point where they called my mother in for a conversation. And I was ready to leave, but the counselor at the time told me that she didn't think I was qualified Walnut Hills material.
Ooh.
And that I should do something else like auto mechanics or sheet metal worker or something of that nature. So it kind of ticked me off, and I decided to stay for the full 6 years.
Congratulations. What did you do after you left Walnut Hills High School?
Well, after I left, I was accepted at the University of Cincinnati, but I was not accepted in any of the design program that I tried to get into, art school, design, architecture and art. And I was finally accepted in University College, which was the liberal arts portion of University of Cincinnati. But, one thing that stood out to me immediately about that situation was that 90.9% of the students that were in the University College were all black students. And I just thought that was kind of strange. And so I tried to get everything I could to get out of that situation. So I earned enough high enough grade point average to transfer out. I transferred out of University College to Arts and Sciences, and I was just kind of disenchanted with school in general. I'd been going to seem like all my life going to school. So I decided to drop out, which was kind of a dumb thing for me to think to do, because at the time I was dropping out, it was right at the height of the Vietnamese War. And you always had to update the government with what your status was. And I didn't have a status. I was eligible for immediate draft because they drafted back then.
Wow.
So I started getting these letters from the government saying, greetings.
Greetings, Joe.
Meet us downtown at the Federal Building at 7 o'clock Monday morning for your examination. I said, I think I better try to get back in school. So that time that I stayed out of school, it gave me an opportunity to research a little bit what I thought I might be interested in doing, since I wasn't accepted in design, architecture, and art, and arts and science. It wasn't really what I thought it would be. So I took home a class, what you call it?
Curriculum.
Syllabus. That's right. Curriculum of all the different colleges that were on campus, and I stumbled upon something called CCM, College Conservatory of Music.
Conservatory of Music, they have high standards to get into the conservatory, don't they?
Absolutely, and that's a good lead into. I don't understand why they accepted me, really.
Stop it, Joe.
But they I think to go directly out of high school to CCM, you had to be in the upper 3 to 5% of the graduating class, and I was nowhere near that. But what I did was I re-enrolled at UC in arts and science and got my grade point average up, made Dean's List, and transferred in. So I was able to transfer in to CCM with grade point and credit hours.
The other program was a 2-year associate degree. You were now into the conservatory going for a BS, a bachelor's degree. Is that correct?
That's correct. I was in a Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Fine Arts degree is what I had an interest in, or what I would have graduated, or what I did graduate with at CCM.
Wow. And while at the conservatory, were you in a combination of both radio, audio, and TV, and broadcasting, and marketing? And
I think a lot of people get I get that question a lot because they automatically think that CCM you had to be able to sing or dance or play an instrument, which I couldn't do either one. But I got had an interest in cameras and video and things of that nature. Electronic media is what it's called today. So that's where my concentration was. My goal at the time was to become the next Gordon Parks, which a lot of people wouldn't necessarily remember who Gordon Parks of a certain age group would know who Gordon Parks is or was. But I guess
he was an author, wasn't he? Making a film,
photographer, Life magazine, and some different things. And he had made a couple of movies and things of that nature. So that really sparked my interest. So I would have been somewhere between Gordon Parks and Spike Lee, I guess, if I had been able to be a little bit more successful at what I was trying to do.
Joe Sears, Joe Gordon, Joe Spike Lee, you'd have been all-time Joe.
I guess you could say that.
All-star Joe. Okay, Joe, switching gears, tell me about your, as I recall, you were very active in your church.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I'm the proudest of, and a couple of things once I graduated from CCM with my fine arts degree in broadcasting or radio and TV and film. I had a couple of opportunities that came my way. At the time, there was a asserted interest in getting more African Americans involved in the media business, and there were some organizations started here in Cincinnati, one called BCP, Black Culture Productions, and I was able to, with my experience and knowledge in radio and TV and film and TV production, audio and things of that nature, I was able to kind of help get that started. But as far as ministry is concerned, the media, the church's involvement is concerned, my immediate involvement with the church was to become, started up a media ministry at the church that I was involved in at the time. So that was one of the ways that I got involved in, and eventually became a deacon at the church.
Did you put your experience from the conservatory into bringing the church into the radio station?
Absolutely. I had a full knowledge of how to run a studio and what kind of equipment was needed, so they relied on me quite a bit to help design and purchase equipment, things of that nature, how to produce shows and the whole 9 yards. So it was a vital importance to have had that background information from school.
What was the name of your show?
My show, well, I had a show on the radio, if that's what you're referring to. I was a part-time DJ. I worked on the weekends, on Sundays and Saturdays and Sundays. And on Sundays, I was a board op. To answer your question directly, I became a board op while I was a junior at CCM, became a board operator at WCIN Radio, and then in an effort for the program director at the time to kind of get more opportunities for his current staff of DJs was to give them some time where they can take a Saturday off. So I was offered a Saturday standard position as a radio announcer.
DJ?
As a DJ, yeah. On
Oh, now we got something to talk about. Do they use a handle? What was your DJ name?
Well, my DJ name, which is kind of a long, convoluted reason how I got that name, but my DJ handle was Joe Suede.
Joe Suede. Tell me more about Joe Suede.
Well, I guess you could say I was one of the smoothest guys on the radio.
That's what I wanted to hear. So smooth, Joe Suede.
And the way it started was I played football, and I don't know if you ever had an opportunity to be in a football locker room in between practices, but you get cracked on all the time about somebody. And I used to have this one coat that I wore all the time. It was the only coat that I could afford at the time, and it was a corduroy coat. So one day after practice, we were getting ready to put our clothes on and head home, and one of the players said, "Oh, here comes Joe, get ready to pull that corduroy coat out. We're gonna start calling him Joe Corduroy." So it really hurt my feelings, and I went home and told I told my parents about them starting to call me Joe Corduroy, and my stepdad at the time said, "Well, we'll fix that." And he had a suede front coat that he let me wear the next day to school. So when I got to school and went through practice, same thing, same guys. Joe getting ready to pull out that corduroy coat. So when I pulled out that suede coat, they said, "Oh man, Joe Suede." So that's really how it all started.
Well, you too smooth for me, Joe Suede. So how did your career go at CIN?
Yeah, it went pretty well. Since I was working full time and just doing this DJ thing on a part-time basis, I was determined to become the top weekend DJ in the city. So that was my goal, to become the top DJ in the city for radio, and it gave me a lot of experience to interview people. So at the time, WCIN was the only R&B station in Cincinnati, and I would get calls every Saturday. My shift was 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturday mornings, and I would get calls from James Brown and a lot of the different artists, Rufus Thomas, Carla Thomas, some of the popular popular personalities at the time, and that helped me to hone some of my interview skills. So they would call up, and I would put them on the air. We have a little conversation about their current record and things of that nature.
Well, who were your favorite groups that you played? You played individual stars? Hit me, James Brown. How would you interview him?
Well, it was kind of short. Just wait, kind of short. Give me some things, But to answer your question, the Temptations were probably, I would say, my favorite group. Of course, I developed some favorite gospel groups as well from Sunday, and I don't know if our audience would be that familiar with some of the personalities of groups, but they were mostly quartets and groups of that nature. The Sensational Nightingales, Dixie Hummingbirds, and the Mighty Consolers. So I was able to develop a good repertoire of artists on the gospel end as well, traditional gospel.
Well, tell me, what was your rap or your lingo? How would you talk to the listening audience? You was Joe Smooth. Talk to me.
Well, it was a little bit of creativity, I suppose. I would take words out of a current song that what I was playing. That was a Michael Jackson and J5 coming at you live and living color from the WCIN Cincinnati, Ohio studios, 1480 on your radio dial. And they said, I might mention some words or lyrics out of the song, and then I would give the time and the weather and move on.
Oh, wow. Joe Smooth, could you play my favorite tune?
Yeah, I
Request line.
yeah, I did get quite a few calls from all types of people during that time. It was pretty interesting, but I did develop a little following, and people had certain artists. We tried to mix up some of the R&B with some rock and AC/DC and Kenny Loggins and different artists that were non-R&B artists was able to mix in based on what our rotation list was.
Well, tell me, were you single, player, or were you married at the time?
You asked some interesting questions, Mel.
You don't have to answer. Your wife might be listening, or your girlfriends might be listening.
Well, that's water over the dam now at this age. But yeah, I was single.
Oh, you were a player.
Single and ready to mingle.
Oh my! Give me one of the lines you used to use as a single man.
This is Jockey Joe on the radio, taking control of your soul. If it takes all night, it's all right. Up next, we've got whoever the artist is, and I'll name the artist and go into it from there.
You go, Joe. You go. So now that you are the co-founder, president, and CEO of UIMA Radio, tell me about that.
Well, that was a nearing retirement venture. I had been working in radio for about 30-some years. Worked for Blue Chip Radio, which was owned by J. Ross Love at the time, and they were later bought by Radio One. So I'd gotten out of being an on-air personality at that time in my career, and decided to go into sales. I had worked full-time during that period of time in the sales industry, sold pharmaceuticals and different things. And so I got my career changed from on-air to sales. So that's kind of how I got extended my career. So I did sales for about 30-some years at Radio One, Blue Chip Broadcasting, and then it became time for me to retire. I started thinking about some things that I wanted to do, and one of the things that I had always developed a interest in was to own my own radio station. So the cost was pretty prohibitive to get into the broadcasting industry from a traditional standpoint of owning a station. I didn't have millions and millions of dollars to spend, but Radio One their digital era was starting to become more prevalent, and I started investigating independent radio or online radio, and that's how I got involved with UIMA.
What is a indie artist?
An indie artist, according to definition, is any artist musical artist that is unsigned by a current record label and represents themselves primarily. So they were not unionized to a point of receiving any kind of BMI, ASCAP. What's the word I'm looking for? Compensation.
Oh, compensation. And so the indie, they just play their songs, or you play their songs, so they can be heard by a company or publicist or lyricist.
Yeah, one of the more interesting and more difficult things for any independent artist to overcome is getting the word out about their product. And I thought that an independent radio station would help them to get their materials out so more people could hear about them, find out about them, know who they were, and kind of sample their product.
For the independent artists that are out there, tell me the step-by-step, if you have a procedure, what do they do to get listen to on your radio station?
Well, I thank you. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do that. To be heard on our radio station is a visit to our independent radio station website. It's uimaradio.com. It's UIM Radio, unsigned independent music artist is what that UIMA stands for. So if they go to our website and go to our contact page, they will see directions on how to get their product on our radio station and to be heard.
Do you give them a guarantee that they'll get signed with a record company or a publicist? Or,
no. It's just all about exposure, and I can't guarantee. I mean, people used to ask me that when I was in sales and the radio was, can you guarantee that my business is going to be successful if I spend this $2,000 on the radio station? My flat out answer was no. All I can guarantee is that you'll be heard.
Well,
so that was the same kind of situation with the artists, is that I can let them know that they will be heard. And we have high standards for our radio station in terms of quality of product. It has to be mastered and registered.
Wow. What genres of music do you play?
We play a multitude of genres. We play R&B, gospel, hip-hop, jazz, and on occasion a little bit of reggae.
Wow. And somebody said you're global. You're on 24 hours of the day?
Yeah. With online radio, you get your signal out through streaming, and you stream to the website. So as long as the website is up and running and all the bills are paid, so to speak, and et cetera, then yeah, you have a 24-hour opportunity to have your music heard.
What's streaming, Joe?
Streaming is just a way for getting a signal out on the internet, on your computer or your headset, or on the computer or on your cell phone, to pick up certain signals. And so streaming is just a way of getting exposure out, getting the message out.
MD Carr and Associates, LLC, MBE, a full-service consulting firm. We're a service-oriented business with a high degree of professionalism and integrity. We begin every session with a one-on-one consultation, keeping your original ideas in mind, listening to your business needs, your current challenges, ensuring your compatibility based upon your targeted market. Our goal is to bring feasible and realistic solutions to meet your company's specific needs, focusing on direct goals, creating timelines, and promoting profitability. Give us a call at 513-520-3657. MD Carr and Associates Consulting. That's MD Carr and Associates Consulting at 513-520-3657. Consult with you soon.